Hi, my name is Sufyan Ali. Today I'm gonna tell you guys what Markov chain is, basically the introduction, explanation, and some real life example of Markov chain. So as I go on to the next slide, which is content, I have divided my videos in three different parts, which is introduction, explanation, and some real life examples of Markov chain. First, I'm gonna tell you what Markov chain is. Markov chain is a Scotic process or experiment in which the outcome of event depend on the previous outcome. Scotic process involve random outcomes that probability can describe. Such process or experiment is called Markov chain or Markov process. The process was first studied by the Russian mathematician Andrei A. Markov in early 1900s. As I'm gonna go on the next slide, which is explaining Markov chain. So now I'm gonna make you guys a bit familiar with Markov chain. Markov chain is a Scotic process, but it differs from the general Scotic process in that Markov chain must be memoryless, that is the probability of future actions which are not depend upon the step that led up to the present state. This is called Markov property. While the theory of Markov chain is important because so many everyday processes satisfy the Markov property. There are many common examples of Scotic properties that do not satisfy the Markov property. Now I have explained you guys a bit about the Markov chain, so we're gonna go on the next slide, which is some real life example of Markov chain. There is a bot on Reddit that generate random and meaningful messages. It uses GTP3 and Markov chain to generate text and the text but still tend to be meaningful. Simply said, subreddit stimulator pulls in significant chunk of all comments and title published throughout Reddit's many communities, then analyze the word by word structure of each statement. Using its data, it produces word to word probabilities and then utilize those probabilities to build titles and comments from scratch. As you guys see in this video that the video I'm saying, the picture which is attached on your right hand side of the slide, you guys can see that some bots are talking to each other. Now I'm gonna give you guys the second example. A game of snakes and ladders or any other game which use moves are determined entirely by dice is Markov chain. Indeed, an absorbing Markov chain that contacts with the card game such as blackjack, where the card represents the memory of past moves. To see difference, consider the probability for certain events in the game. In the above mentioned dice game, the only thing that matters is the current state of board. The next state of board depends on the current state and the next roll of the dice. It doesn't depend on how things got to their current state. In a game such as blackjack, a player can gain an advantage by remembering which card have already been shown, hence which card are no longer in the deck. So the next state or hand of the game is not depend on the past states. Now I have given you guys some real life example of Markov chain. This is the timeline that how I explain you guys about the Markov chain, introduction, explanation, and some real life examples. Thank you so much. Now I'm gonna pass next to my other group mates.